La siguiente charla estará a cargo de Stefan O.M. de Claudius Peters, quien nos hablará sobre modificaciones para enfriadores de clinker.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk about clinker cooling, and thanks for the speech we could hear before, where we saw some interesting facts of the clinker production. And I will draw your attention a little bit more on the machinery and how a clinker cooler can support the facts you saw before in the presentation. So maybe let me drop first some words about what I will talk to you. I will drop some words about clinker coolers in general, about the cooler advantages, the self-rotating design, process optimized aeration, the delivery, how it comes to you, a comparison between ETA and grade cooler, and some words about references. Maybe some words about Claudius Peters. This is our experience. You see, I think there's hard to find any other company with such an experience in clinker coolers in the world. So we brought nearly 800 coolers into operation, and today I will talk about our newest development, the ETA cooler, and from this type we have already sold 64, but this you will see later on as well. Claudius Peters was over the years a very innovative company. So we have invented the hydraulic drive, the roller crusher. We were the first company with a 10,000 tons per day cooler in the market. We have invented the compact swing support, and last not least is the ETA cooler in 2004, our newest development for clinker cooler technology. Something about the ETA cooler. One major topic of the invention of the ETA cooler was to make the cooler itself easier, more maintenance friendly, more wear resistant. And I would like to show you now some facts about this machine underlining this. This is, we call it HE module, a static inlet. This is today state of the art for all cooler modifications. So even if you have a grade cooler or other type of coolers, it's always recommendable to install such a static inlet in front of your cooler, because this will help you in protect the the area where the hot clinker is dropping from the kiln with 1,100, 1,200 degrees. And here, especially in all grade coolers, you have many times wear problems. With the static inlet, this is gone, because this layer of cold cement is protecting the grade plates and is keeping the heat away from this area. So this will help you, in any case, to get a better maintenance-friendly operation of your cooler. Here you can see a picture of Unterwatz, one of the recent installation of an ETA cooler, where you see the static inlet clean before the first fire came. Then it was very important for us even to reduce the wear and the maintenance on the following grade, because for sure grade plates was all the time a very good aftermarket business for Claudius Peters. We sold a lot of grade plates. But for our client, it was always not acceptable to change once a year or sometimes even every 6 months grade plates, because it has always affected the stop of the kiln, has always take a lot of production away from the sales. So therefore, we have looked for a system to reduce the wear even on the following grade. And this is the new principle we have realized in the ETA cooler. So we have now lanes like this instead of grade rows, and we have a kind of movement pattern a way that we move all lanes at the same time forward, and then we take this, for example, 1 and 4 back, then 2 and 5, and then the last one. And then again, we move everything forward. So this is giving us a very good transport efficiency. And with this transport efficiency, we can reduce the number of strokes as well. Furthermore, you can see here that all the pockets of the grate are filled with gravel. So this is not clinker, these are normal stones. And this we had to put to make, let me say, the power consumption of the intercooler in total much better than before. But the very important fact is here that you can see that only very small parts of the cooler are in touch with the hotter clinker. So here you can see that something like 93% of the whole cooler area are not in contact with hot clinker. Only these small lines here, and those lines are protected by a on-top welding, and this is something you can repair easily on your own if necessary. But it's not really necessary because, first of all, what I said before, the number of strokes are reduced, therefore we have less wear on the grate. So you can see here that the traditional stroke length of a grate cooler is something like 120, 130 millimeters. The intercooler has 250. This results in a number of stroke cycles of 3 point something for the ETA compared with 12, 13, 15 for a normal grate cooler. So since speed is always wear, this is reducing the speed. And the results of this you can see here, hopefully now, in some pictures of our oldest installation in Holcim-Siggenthal. When we generated, or when we invented the cooler, Holcim was our partner for the first installation in Switzerland, and this was Siggenthal. Siggenthal is now, since 2004, in operation, so 9 years. And here you can see the pictures of 7 years. You can see that this is the status when it was installed. And then you can see here, after 4 years, there's still the paint of the rust protection in the pockets. Here's this on top welding. And this is after 7 years, so you can still see the paint. So, and unfortunately, when I did a similar presentation in Peru already this year, together with the VDMA, and there I had the only spare part we had to exchange the first year. So it was a small O-ring sealing for one cylinder. This was the only part we had to exchange in the first years in Siggenthal. And this, at the end, has brought us to a status that today all salmon coolers of Holcim in Switzerland are ETA coolers. So the last one was Unterwatz we brought into operation last year. So this is a clear proof that this technology is very well accepted by Holcim, and it's what I'm telling you is something you can find in reality as well. Here, you can see the support of the lanes. Those rollers are really massive devices. And in the meantime, we can give a guarantee of 5 years on the rollers. So if you have an old grate cooler with any kind of support system, you have to exchange from time to time some guidings or whatever inside the cooler. Here, we give 5 years guarantee. And honestly, in Siggenthal, we have never exchanged one roller until now. And we have tried this technology before in some grate coolers just for testing. And we know that we have 10 years operation without failure on this device. So there's nothing to do except a little bit of grease here in maintenance for this roller supports. Another beauty of the ETA cooler is here you can see the hydraulic units. Yes, you have more hydraulic cylinders like with a grate cooler. With a grate cooler you have maybe 2 or 1 depending on the type you are choosing. But these cylinders are installed in the air chamber, and this air chamber is free of any clinker. There's only a little bit of dust maybe coming from time to time in, but this is really something you can forget about. And furthermore, those cylinders have a special internal sealing and cleaning system to avoid that dust can enter into the cylinder. So therefore, there's a very long lifetime of the cylinders as well. And the advantage of more cylinders is that you can even operate the intercooler with the half numbers of lanes. So we had this in Siggenthal where one cylinder failed because of a leakage, so we had to exchange this O-ring. But at the end, the client has operated the cooler on the same capacity for some months because they were in demand for clinker. If on a great cooler, one cylinder in this many times very dusty and dirty atmosphere is failing, then you have loss of production. So here, some assumption or summary of what I told you, but I think it's quite obviously, and we have the presentation, and if you have further questions, feel free to come to our booth. We can explain even more in details. Aeration is another very important thing. First point was maintenance. Now you want to get as much energy back to your process, because energy you can get back is saving you fuel, and fuel is getting more and more expensive and more and more important. So therefore, the intercooler, or this kind of cooler, is helping you to get the most of the energy out of your clinker. I think everybody from you know this effect. If the kiln is turning like this, then the fine clinker is on one side and the coarse clinker is on the other side. This has always caused, let me say, problems in aeration, that you need really to send the air in different ways to the different sides of the coolers. And furthermore, in this area, there was many times a forming of red river where the hot energy is moving down the cooler. It's always important to get, because the energy here in this area, because here's a typical cooling curve. So here you have the hot clinker, and here the cooler is getting, the clinker is getting cooler. So here is the hottest area, and here you have to bring the energy back to the kiln to save your fuel. Oops, wrong bottom. So something like this, where you have a kind of inlet here with the hot clinker, and then the fine material is going down in direction to the crusher, for sure is not helping the recovery of energy in your cooler. Therefore, it's important to stop it here as soon as possible to keep the energy in this area. With a great cooler, you have very limited possibilities to influence on this behavior of the clinker. But with the ETA, you will have some possibilities. I'd like to show you here in the next slides. Here, you see the aeration fields of the HE module. To keep the energy in this area, it's important, for example, if you have a coarse side here and a fine side here, to reduce here the airflow, bring here more air, to have an even air distribution about over the HE module. Here's a typical picture, pretty much what we saw before. But the most important fact is that you have a chance to influence the speed really lane by lane of the clinker on your grade. So if you have, for example, here the fine side, you can reduce the speed of this lane to slow down the clinker flow in this area. This stops Red River, because the Red River for sure is like a hovercraft, but if you reduce the clinker speed below the Red River, it will stop as well. And this is something we can see in all ETA coolers, that this is really a very helpful measurement to reduce the Red River forming inside the cooler. And the aeration system here is helping to reduce Red River forming as well. Here, again, the summary. The delivery, how you can get it. If we're talking about modifications of cooler, then it's many times very helpful to keep the existing upper part of your grate cooler and put only the pre-assembled modules here into the cooler. Means you take a complete assembled model from the truck or from the side of your cooler, bring it into the kiln hood, put it down and move it back. In this way you can install the complete cooler by keeping the existing upper part. The next slide is showing you, I call it the Chinese way. This is the way how the Chinese mainliners buying our intercoolers. So that for sure they try to do as much as possible on their own. So they are pre-assembling the complete upper part, lower part of the cooler, and then they're getting all the blue parts here from CP as core parts. So this is the way how we would sell the intercooler to a Chinese EPC to implement the cooler into their systems. Here, a little bit decision matrix, what you can choose for what kind of demand you have. Here, it's something essential if you compare a Etter with a grate cooler. You can see here, the big difference is the bed height of the clinker. So the Etter cooler is operating with a minimum bed height of 800 meters. Some of our clients are operating the cooler with 1 meter or even more than 1 meter bed height because they know that this is giving us back the highest efficiency in terms of heat recuperation from the clinker bed. And this is a kind of physics. So if you have such a big clinker layer, you can reduce or you can extend the retention time of the clinker in the cooler, but unfortunately, you have a higher pressure loss because the air has to go through a thicker layer. And this is physics, and you can't avoid it, that you need more pressure to go through it. But here you can see a comparison table we are doing for our clients, just to show the difference for here sample 5,000 tons per day plant. You can see here we have a cooler efficiency for 77% for an Etter cooler, 73% for a grate cooler. This is something normal you can find in reality as well during operation. But if you just take this in consideration, and even with the higher power consumption, you can see savings of something like 800,000 euros per year by reduction of fuel consumption and better efficiency, even with higher power consumption. So here a comparison sheet. And something else very important for many clients in Europe is the CO2 emission. So I think here today it's not such a big issue, but in Europe many times you see that you have to reduce the tons of CO2 you are putting into the air, and the lower or the better efficiency is giving you is 14,000 tons CO2 less you can use for your certificates, sell it if you want or whatever. In the installation is one big advantage. Since you have no hoppers, you save the height of the heat exchanger tower as well. You have, due to less air in the cooling air, you need smaller filters as well, helping your investment costs. Yeah, maybe some words again for some reference, because I'm now 1 minute over, sorry for that. Here you can see the figure, 63 coolers, Etter coolers sold right now worldwide. Now is 64, since we got last week another one for Nigeria. And the biggest one is 13,000 tons per day. And yeah, most big groups in the world are using the Etter cooler. And for example, Conch has now 20 of the Etter coolers in China. So, performance results, I think most of the clients are really happy about this machine, and I hope there's a chance to prove this in South America as well. So, thanks a lot for your patience and this additional 1 minute, and enjoy the conference. Thanks a lot.